Hey there, welcome back to The Surge. We're immediately jumping into audio logs.
I can't believe they just fired Dr. Chavez. After the years of hard work and dedication she's put into this company. I suppose that's what you get when you stand up for your convictions. The worrying thing is, she's right. We've got to keep working, now more than ever. Lesser people would give up, but she's not one of them. And if she won't, I won't.
Well, it's good that they fire scientists at Creo for speaking up for their convictions and perhaps their concerns about Creo's many projects. It's good that they do that and not a bad thing. Boy, it's only the second episode and already Creo is sounding like not such a great company. At least we have a pipe that can do a sweet golf swing, though. And where would we be without that? I mean, I suppose without that we would be stuck with our, lightning-infused claw, or perhaps some kind of chainsaw sword. So, to be fair, we wouldn't really be all that worse off. Something I like about this area, abandoned production, is that you can kind of tell what this place used to be. Like, obviously, this place has been out of commission for far longer than Warren has been here. Like, this place was not in pristine condition before we got the surgery and got knocked out. I'll explain it in a little bit once we reach the end of the line, but for now, forget about that. Because it's time for us to finally get our hands on that chainsaw sword. The Aster Vibro Cutter is, it's a force to be reckoned with. It really is. It's actually my least favorite of the one-handed weapons because of the moveset that it has that is relatively specific to it, but it's okay. It's alright regardless.
News, guys. We finally got the new gear assembly unit down here. And not a moment too soon. The old one was spitting out worse trash than what you put in. For now, though, you'll have to manually unlock the schematics on your local accounts, at least until they update the interface. The rest is business as usual. You know, pick what you need, make sure you got the proper materials, and hit OK.
I appreciate that there's an owner's manual for the for the 3D printing machine. Like, I imagine that 3D printing in the future is quite a process. Like, maybe at Creo they have boiled it down to hit a button and you get your magical 3D printed equipment. Like, I mean, that log does not describe the process as being that intensive, but I imagine the underlying technology behind the space-age 3D printing is maybe a little bit advanced for the layman. So that two chain hit there, the double overhead swing, is why I do not like the Vibro Cutter compared to some other swords we will get our hands on, because it takes a while to actually hit the enemy. See, what you probably will start noticing as we're going is that I'm going to start being a little bit more aggressive towards the enemies as we're playing, because this game is a little bit more about stamina management than it is about dodging the enemies and then counter-attacking. Like, for example, I dodged that guy's one attack there, but like that's the only attack he's going to get in compared to the 5 or 6 attacks that I did on his leg there. The idea behind it is that you don't want to waste any stamina that you could be using to keep the enemy locked down, like using half stamina by timing your attacks, and so on and so on. The problem that the Vibro Cutter has, and some other weapons, is that when you swing the sword, Warren swings it over his head, and that takes a second where he's not actually hitting the enemy. And then he hits them twice in quick succession, but there's that small gap where you're not locking the enemy down and they are free to move, which can really throw you off. So when I use the Vibro Cutter in this playthrough, and swords with the same moveset, you're going to see me only doing the 3rd hit combo most of the time, because listen, it gets me in trouble a lot more often than it helps. Speaking of getting in trouble, these drones, they're being quite a pain. the laser drones are quite annoying because it's kind of like a crapshoot whether or not their laser is going to lock onto you or not. So you kind of got to be careful, because if you're not paying close enough attention, you will run directly into the path of the laser after it has already locked, and then it will track you again, and then it'll just fire right at you no matter where you're moving. It can't hit you if you're dodging, though, so dodging is always important. So anyway, on the subject of advanced production, I like this area. I feel like this game opens very strongly. This area introduces you pretty well to all of the various concepts that the game has to offer. Like, one criticism this game has received, that I think was mitigated some by updates and the DLC, is that enemy types are not super variant. Like, for the majority of this game, we will be fighting the human enemies, wielding each type of weapon that we can have, and that changes their moveset a little bit, but overall, the majority of the enemies we fight in this game are going to be people like us, and the game has received some flack for that. But after this audio log, and after we find a way to open up the trains, I'll describe why I don't think that's such a bad thing.
And the continuing threat to Creo security, we are asking all employees to remain vigilant. Please, if you see or hear anything suspicious, report it immediately to your supervisor. Protect yourself, your job, your family. Terrorism is everyone's problem.
Terror doesn't end with arrest. Anyway, while we are on our way to power up the trains here, I feel like it's not such a bad thing that this game doesn't have 1,000 different enemy types that you only see a few times, and instead has a couple enemy types that have really refined gameplay and, you know, stats and movesets and all that stuff. I think it's important to have enemies that are recurring in ways that the player can learn and grow when it comes to fighting them. Like, there are 1,000 different ways to take out the enemies in this game, and not all of them are easy. Like, there is an easy way to fight the enemies in this game, and a hard way. And once you learn the easy way, it then becomes about, okay, this works for me, so I'm going to perfect the combat against these few enemies, instead of having to be subpar at fighting a billion of them. I don't want to go down there yet. We don't have a light on our suit, so maybe let's not walk straight into pitch black darkness. And I think that I think that Abandoned Production covers that idea pretty well, because the only enemies here are the drones and the humans, and we will be introduced to a couple of new enemy types in the next level, but for now, this is all we have, and it gives you some time to get used to fighting what you are going to spend the majority of your time up against, because just throwing every enemy type at you in one area would kind of suck a little bit. I feel like not showing the player that this is what the Surge is about right off the bat would be to the game's detriment. And I think that Abandoned Production is a very strong start for the Surge, not just because of the enemy types, but also the intrigue, the mystery about, like, okay, we have woken up in this junkyard and it seems like it's 1,000 years in the future, but one look at the Creo building will tell you, okay, actually it's probably only like a day later. But this area looks like it's been dilapidated for, like, years. So the audio logs here allow us to slowly get a picture of what happened to the old assembly line. Perhaps Creo moved on to robotic production. Perhaps the workers here didn't do such a great job, and so they moved on, and oh my god, we're being attacked by a man wearing the rhino suit. And he's got a cool weapon. It's kind of like a very angry Wolverine. So this is how we get the other suits in the game. So far, we have only been fighting enemies wearing the Lynx suit, but the Rhino suit is going to start popping up en masse pretty soon. There's only a couple of them in this area, but this is one reason not to take the Rhino suit at the start of the game, because obviously you don't get all of the pieces of the Rhino suit, and then there are only a couple enemies in this area who are wearing it, so you might have to grind for it if you want the rest of the pieces. Oh, here we go. Ugh. Grody, but alright. I like it. So yeah, I like that you follow the assembly line, the old assembly line for these rockets, and you get to see, you know, you get a little timeline of how this area kind of has fallen into disrepair, in addition to giving you like a really good view of the surrounding area, just to show you like, that's the Creo building, and then off in the distance there's even more debris, and this whole area is out in the desert, so it's like, there's nowhere to go if you even escape. Wait, that looks like an enemy over there. We just unlocked a shortcut back to the Ops Center, but we're not going to go there just yet, because there's one more thing that we have to take care of. And people who have watched my original blind stream of this game will remember this enemy, because this enemy was my nemesis for quite some time. Because you see, it's not just drones and humans that want to beat us up. No, the machinery itself has gone rogue. These big demon crane things are the bane of my existence, because it's very hard to show off a fight with these that is fair, either to me or to the crane. And I'm trying to keep my distance here, right, so that I can show off its moveset and stuff, but once you get in close, like right to its like body part-ish, like there's not really all that much it can do. Like, it has this like stomp attack that will do a ton of damage if it hits you, but otherwise, once you've gotten past the actual crane part, the demon maw crane part, it can't really do much to hurt you. So like, all it can really, the fight is more about rotating around it than it is like actually dodging the attacks. But as soon as you back up, there's no way you can damage the thing. So like, it's kind of like once you get in on it, you've won the fight. I mean, this one specifically is kind of like back into this corner. So like, for this one specifically, okay, like, fine. But for the other ones that we are going to face throughout our journey, because this is a recurring enemy, there's more room to maneuver, and so they pose a little bit less of a threat. The reason I came here, though, is because my tech scrap multiplier is pretty high, and this is a pretty high value target. So defeating it gave me like 6,000 or 7,000 tech scrap. But that's not even the real reason we came over here. No, the real reason is because of collectibles. For you see, Warren is a fan of comic books. And here in our organizer we have our audio logs, our quest items such as our Creo World ticket, a gear voucher, and the shining coin we got from the smelter bot, and a comic book. Because you see, these cool Iron Mouse comic books by Deck 13 are the main achievement collectible in this game, and they're pretty cool. I like that this one depicts Iron Mouse beating up a smelter bot, implying that in this situation Warren is emulating his hero. Some kind of BattleBots thing going on here. Raging drones. Screw Ferguson. Well, that's kind of rude. No idea who this Ferguson character is, but boy, apparently these raging drone folks don't like him. So we've now explored basically the entire area. We still need to go down into the darkness.
This is not a scheduled break time.
And to do that, we are going to require a body, because right now we don't have any form of light. If we pulled out the Spectre Bite, we could use its blue glow to navigate around, but I didn't want to do that. So instead, we are going to feel real good. We're going to really touch on the pleasure center of our brain in the Skinner box kind of model, and we are going to level up like 10 times in like one go. And see, this is the advantage of spending your time away from the ops center, is now we have more slots to put in implants that do things like heal us over time, increase the amount of energy we get from hitting enemies, reduce the cost of finishing moves, and so on. We get to enjoy picking and choosing a almost entirely new playstyle just from that alone, from spending time away from the ops and then coming back with a lot of new stuff at once. It's really cool. And in addition to that, we can equip the rest of our armor. So now we're wearing the System Shock helmet and the Link's body gear, which has some floodlights on it. And in order to see what effect this really has on us, we can go way over to our specs tab, which is huge and imposing, but it describes pretty accurately everything that we have on and what bonuses it gives us. In addition to our set bonus. Wearing each piece of the Link set gives you increased attack speed when you are near or at full health. And that is incredibly overpowered. Oh my god, that's so overpowered. Like, it's actually a little bit crazy. I thought that they were going to remove the bonus of the Link set after the game released, because it is so incredibly useful. Like, the Link set is honestly one of the best sets in the game, and you can choose it first. Like, it's crazy. I was actually considering taking the Rhino set first thing so that I wouldn't have the Link set, but like, I felt like I owed it to you to take it just so that I can show you what the difference is, especially once we get our hands on the Rhino gear, so I can show you what its set bonus is. Before we get there though, it's the Yosuke Butterfly, our first twin-rigged weapon. You know that crazy moveset that man had where he was just freaking out and going crazy? Yeah, we have that now. We can just do that. How does Warren have the technical ability to do that when he only just started walking like an hour ago? I don't know. I don't think about it, okay? People in the thread were discussing like how Warren has the technical aptitude to do all of this kind of crazy stuff, even though he only just learned how to walk, like half an hour ago. Well, the game doesn't ask you to think about it, so I guess in this case you're not supposed to think about it. I assume that the Exo Rig is doing most of the work. That's what I figure. Also, this drone is very interesting because sometimes it respawns and other times it doesn't. And I don't know what makes this drone come back to life. The twin-rigged weapons are a little bit unique in that most weapons in the game have a 3-hit combo. The twin-rigged weapons have a 4-hit combo, which is important because it means that there are actually 4 different alternate moves for combining heavy and light attacks, whereas most weapons just have the 2. So there are a lot of fun moves you can do with the twin-rigged weapons. However, I would actually say that they are the weak link in the game, as sad as it is, because they just do not match up in damage. Like, they will just shit damage output like nobody's business. And that's, you know what, that's a fair point to them, is that like the twin-rigged weapons are extremely good at dishing out lots of damage over a short time span and also doing really cool backflips. However, where they suffer is that they can't stun enemies worth a damn, so you still kind of have to dodge in and out, which means that you do less damage overall, even though their combos do more damage in the chain. So they kind of suffer in that way, but they're still very fun to use. And we will use a lot of them, because there's a lot of unique twin-rigged weapons in this game. Oh, and that's just so good, to just pick someone up and then be like, give me that arm. I want it. So we've come down here to power up the trains, and as we defeat this enemy who is stalking out of the darkness at us, we're going to get done with that. But we're not going to leave just yet, because this area is not quite over with. This enemy is interesting, actually. I think this enemy is unique, actually. I don't think a single enemy anywhere else in this game does what this enemy does when you kill them. Oh. When you kill this enemy, they drop an implant. One of the most important ones in the whole game. the metavoltaic injection. And we're about to get some narration from the game, so I'm going to actually explain what this does and why it's so important when I put it on in the next episode. But believe me, gaining health from energy is incredibly useful, and will last us for this entire Let's Play.
Initializing. Sector online. Attention, security lockdown in effect. Warning, security systems are now active. No connection to Creonet at this time.
Sorry, did that say security systems are now active? I don't know, maybe I misheard it. I don't know, it's probably nothing important. Another thing that the twin-rigged weapons are not so great at is damaging body parts, because the amount of damage you do to a body part is based on your impact stat, and they don't have very much.
Not comfortable at all. We've had multiple accidents in this sector. We have to shut it down and take it to pieces bit by bit. Now, I know what you're gonna say, but we've been lucky. We've been able to sweep the previous incidents under the rug. We can't keep relying on luck. I know nobody cares about the grunts down here, but God knows they will care if the media gets hold of it. Or worse, the Oversight Committee.
I like the idea that the media getting a hold of the fact that they mistreat their workers is more important than the Oversight Committee that they work for. Or even like the Government Oversight Committee, if that's what that's supposed to refer to. Like, it's pretty funny how evil, like comically evil they are. So we can't get in here yet. That's a security door. So there's like a kind of like a Metroid aspect to this too, which is pretty cool.
Possession of evidence that links Ed Nakana, employee number 776910, to the homicides associated with the individual known as the Liberator. All indications point to the fact that he has deliberately tampered with his neural implant, including disabling its GPS function. Therefore, Creonet cannot ascertain his whereabouts. While he's at large, he is a serious threat to staff and Creo's image. If this were to get out, we need to take care of this, quickly and quietly.
So, this side quest here, well, it's not a side quest, this log series about the Liberator. Now, a lot of people who play this game are a little bit confused about the timeline of this log, so I'm just going to spoil it for you, because you're not going to find out for, like, 8 hours of video game otherwise. Those logs take place about 10 years prior to the events of the game, which gives you a timeline of...
Let me out.
In a second, I will. Give me just a moment, my friend. My worker friend. That gives you a timeline of, say, when abandoned production was shut down, how long this has been like this. The surge takes place in, I believe, 2082, I think? 2080, 2082, somewhere around there. And, I believe the Liberator logs take place in about 2069. Hello, friend. How are you? Oh, you're not a friend. I like your weapon, though. So yeah, I believe if you look at them in your log organizer, it will tell you what the date of the log is, I think. But yeah, the timeline of events can be a little bit confusing, so I'll just explain it as we go, for your convenience. But forget about all that for now, though. We have picked up one of my favorite weapons in the game, the Endos RS3 Titan. And what a Titan it is! Because, to complement our really fast Yosuke butterfly weapon, the Titan is a giant fucking hammer. And you can take the word fucking as a verb or an adjective in that sentence. It really could work as either, because check this thing out in combat. Yeah, it's quite good. The hammer weapons in this game are very satisfying. They really play into the whole, like, combat slowdown kind of thing, where it's like, you really feel the oomph behind every hit. It just feels really good. And also, taking off enemy body parts with it is very fun. So you saw there that I hit that enemy even though they had no health. And that is me making use of the fact that if you hold the execution button while you are hitting an enemy, they won't die. So you can continue to hit them to damage their body parts without killing them, to make, you know, getting an execution move on them a little easier. There is another loop back to Ops there, but we don't need it. We're on our way out anyway. We have activated the power of the trains, and we just need to get out of here. And I find it interesting that there are now a couple of equally long ways to get back to the train. Like, what I decided to do is run through the tunnels here because there's no enemies in my way, but we also could have gone back to the Ops Center, taken the lift, and then gone around the upper rafters area where the Rhino Suit guy is. And both ways are equally valid. And I think that's kind of cool about the shortcuts in this game, is that they give you a lot of room for pretty much however you want to do it. Like, there are a lot of ways to get to your destination, and it's up to you how you get there. So let's get on these trains and get the hell out of this place, with no resistance whatsoever.
System check initiated. Error. Bypassing. Error. Bypassing. Bypass successful.
Ah, shit.
Bringing primary weapon online. Primary weapon offline. Secondary systems operational.
Well, we're fighting P.A.X. now. Here come the Dickwolves. I believe the full name of this boss is Pacification Automaton X, which kind of tells you a little bit about the scale at which workers may have revolted at Creo. I really like that this thing is here, and it's like equally as busted and worn down as everything else, because it does not bode well for worker satisfaction at Creo, even back several years in the past. So you might notice that I am not actually damaging P.A.X's health bar. Instead, I am filling up this orange angry at you bar, after which point it will unleash some new attacks. In the form of pacification via explosion. Now, of course, there are multiple ways to defeat this boss, which I really like. They actually reward you for thinking outside the box when it comes to defeating this boss. Or rather, thinking outside the box in a different way. Because if we hit its legs enough, the armor will pop up, which means that we can smack it at the weak leg, and then just go to goddamn town on it with our giant hammer. Which damages its health bar. The other way to defeat this boss, of course, is to stand underneath it when it fires the missiles at you, which will cause it to hit itself with the missiles and then knock itself out so you don't have to. And this is as good a time as any to explain that there are two ways to defeat bosses in the Surge. Every boss has an alternate, harder way to kill it, and doing that will gain you a special upgraded weapon, which we'll see when I defeat the boss. The special kill for P.A.X. is to not let it knock itself out with the missiles. Therefore, you're fighting the boss the harder way by not taking the gimme that the game gives you. I like this boss. I think this boss is cool because it's a good contrast to the slow, lumbering human enemies that we've fought so far. Because P.A.X. itself is slow and lumbering, but also it's got some very fast attacks that have a long wind-up, but they come out very, very quickly. So this boss makes for a really good contrast to the enemies we've fought so far. However, in the end, it's just junk like the rest of them. See you later, P.A.X. Oh, that's nice. I like that they give you a pop-up like, yeah, you did it, buddy. You defeated the big angry robot. For our trouble, we got a vital boost implant that'll increase our health by quite a bit. And P.A.X's weapon, the P.A.X Imperator. P.A.X Imperator, whichever you want to pronounce it as. It is, like the Spectre Bite, a single-rigged weapon. However, by defeating it the hard way, we got the V2 version, or so it's called, which has some special moves, in the form of a big, giant fuck-off shockwave that will damage anything around us. So hey, it's worth it to go for the V2 weapons, and I will be going for them and explaining the methods as we proceed. For now, I'll see y'all later. We're gonna head inside, to where there will be absolutely no resistance, and like our mysterious contact said, who knows, maybe we'll find help.
Central Production B. Personnel arrival.